I blame the Hunger Games for back in the 2000s giving me my addiction to competition settings. That's literally the first book I remember reading with a competition setting, but I've definitely read a few since then. And today I'm here to give you 5 recommendations that have competition settings or competition elements to them. Let's start off with The Pawn's Gambit by Rob J. Hayes. This one is such a fun and unique story in my opinion. We're following a world where there is a god of gods essentially. And every century the gods have a contest to determine who will take over and be the next god of gods. So for their competition, each god chooses a mortal to be their champion. They play a game of essentially, it's kind of like capture the flag and hide and seek mixed together. There's a bunch of like hidden things across the world and your champion has to be the first to collect as many as possible. You want to have the most, but also you have to be the quickest. It is a lot of fun in my opinion. We follow our main character who has been chosen as a god's champion and what exactly that means for her. It's a quick read. It's around 300 pages, which is pretty good for a fantasy book, and the audiobook is really good. I would highly recommend it. I definitely loved the like competition in this one. The next one we have is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is definitely different vibes from this one. However, I personally really liked the competition aspect in this one. This is a fantasy romance, so it's definitely romance based and romance heavy, but we're following our main character who is the daughter of the vampire king. The thing is, she's actually human, but she's living in a place surrounded by vampires. So when the Kajari comes around, which is a legendary tournament held by the goddess of night herself, our main character enters it, and in this competition she has to be the last one standing. It's a fight to the death, similar to the Hunger Games. And how is she gonna do that when all the other applicants are vampires? I did really like the trials in this that are the competition. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was interesting world building, and I personally love the romance in this. It's full of banter, and there's also really incredible themes of identity and grief within this series as well. Next up we have The Combat Codes by Alexander Darwin. In this one we're following a world where whenever they have a problem, they fight it out in like a dual boxing style. So they have what they call like champions. So we're following 2 POVs in this one. We're following an old retired Griever Knight who is one of those champions that fought for their nation and did the duels. And then we're following an orphan kid who is in one of the underground boxing rings, which is kind of where a lot of people find recruits for the knights, but it's also for entertainment. When our Griever Knight finds him and takes him to the academy to train. There is a competition in this just in terms of like the school setting itself has a competition to it, as well as you see a lot of boxing matches which are competitions, but I personally loved the like school setting aspect of this, and they are competing for spots within the school setting. Next up we have Fireborn by Rosaria Munda. This one is a dragon riding academy. A lot of my competition settings do come in school settings, which I think is really interesting. In this one we follow Annie and Lee, who are 2 orphans that have grown up together, but they are currently competing in the dragon riding fleet for the top position. You do see that competition happen within this book and this series, and what that means, it's a lot of dragon fighting and like duels, and I thought that was really, really interesting. This one is definitely more about power corrupting and has a lot of heavy themes. The theme of this story definitely does not revolve around the competition, but it is in there, and I really appreciated that for it. I'm obsessed with this series. If you haven't read it, you definitely should. I think it's one of the best series I've read, and the way it talks about privilege and standings in life is really remarkable. And lastly, we have The Will of the Many by James Islington. This doesn't have your traditional competition setting. However, there are definitely competition aspects to this setting. This follows a school setting where you want to be the top of the school, and each level has less kids. So the first level has like 30 kids, the second level has 20 kids, the third level has 10 kids, the fourth level has 5 kids, and you want to get to that top level that is just like, I think, 1 kid only. And so you are constantly battling within this school for your spot, because in order for a kid to move up, that also means a kid has to go down on the levels of the school, which I thought was really interesting. So you definitely see them competing for the top spot in the school quite a bit, as well as a couple other like trial-like aspects to this. I really, really loved this book. It's one of my favorite fantasies for sure. I cannot wait for book 2. The like summary of this one is we're following our main character who was the son of a rival nation's rulers. When they are wiped out by the hierarchy, he ends up going and hiding and kind of being an orphan within the hierarchy streets, when one day he's selected to be a spy at the school academy. There you have it, 5 books that have competition settings or competition aspects to them. That might give you the high that the Hunger Games did when we were younger. I hope that you read these and enjoy them. I really love all of them. Honestly, all of these are some of my favorite books, so I hope that you love them too. And if you're looking for more recommendations like this from me, here's my video of underhyped fantasy series that you could binge right now. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me a cat because this little boy is sneaking in.